So I don't know if you guys have noticed that there's been a lot of progress in the handheld gaming community of late. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a new entry into the remote play and cloud gaming side of the handheld gaming community. The appeal of this device is the fact that it's very affordable and that makes it accessible to just about anybody. You are going to need a Wi-Fi as always with anything that involves remote play or cloud gaming, but the good thing about this device is that it's been optimized to work very well for streaming games either from the cloud or from one of your consoles that's located at home or somewhere else. So the way they've done that is by using a Wi-Fi module that works better for receiving the signal from your router. So you're still going to need a really solid internet connection, but with this console, you're going to have a more stable connection without interruptions. We're gonna be checking out all of its features, what you get with it, and what makes it stand out, besides the price, or the cost for it.
So the review unit that I received came packaged in a very generic brown box with a made-to-fit carrying case and a single USB Type-A to C charging cable. No power block included, so you'll have to get yours to charge the device. The first thing I noticed was that the device is super lightweight and also has a very thin profile. This is huge for portability, which is one of the reasons to even consider a handheld in the first place. The build quality felt pretty solid from the get-go, and the size of the console makes it perfect to travel with. Right next to the Steam Deck, it looks tiny. In terms of shape and size, it's more similar to the Aya Neo 2 at about 250 grams less total weight, so it's definitely going to be easy to bring around or even use for extended periods of time. The mass production units are supposed to come with an anti-slip back surface for an even better grip when playing, but the review unit that I was provided did not come with it. Besides that though, the grips on both sides feel like a good fit for small to average sized hands. If you've got huge hands, it might feel a little bit on the small side, or maybe it won't if you're used to, say, a Nintendo Switch. I really like how they designed the grips on both sides. They're shaped in such a way that allows the bottom three fingers on both hands to hold onto them for support, and it feels ergonomic enough for a device as small as this. For the main controls, the console uses an Xbox-style controller layout with alternating thumbsticks on both sides. There's also a D-pad, ABXY buttons, and 4 trigger buttons as you would expect. Both the triggers and the thumbsticks use Hall sensors, which essentially means magnets, and this allows them to be a lot more effective, last longer, and prevent common thumbstick issues like drifts or even dead zones. The thumbsticks are not full-size ones, they're more like what you'd get on a Nintendo Switch, so do keep that in mind. There's 4 buttons right next to the 4 corners of the screen for accessing various menu options like the home page or in-game menus. There's also a power button and volume adjustment buttons located on top of the device for easy access. As for I/O ports, there's an AUX jack for wired headsets and a USB-C port for charging at the bottom of the device, and there's also a small port right there for SD cards if you plan on increasing storage for some reason. There are 2 little speakers built into the console on the front side, and they sound just like you would expect from built-in speakers on pretty much any device. If you want some next level audio, you definitely want to use some Bluetooth earbuds or even a wired headset connection. One of the reasons why the console is so lightweight is the fact that it's got no dedicated CPU or GPU that it needs to operate for gaming and such. This means a super quiet operation even when streaming some of the most demanding AAA games directly from your consoles or from the cloud. It also means very minimal heat dissipation since you don't need fans, which is great for a handheld. The Abxylute has a 1080p 7-inch full HD screen with a 60 Hz maximum refresh rate, which will let you play your games at up to 60 frames per second. The screen looks great, especially when streaming at the highest resolution and the highest frame rate. It definitely looks better than when using remote play or cloud gaming on the Steam Deck, which is what I've always used. Around the screen, you'll also notice a little bit of a bezel, which I wish wasn't there, but then it probably costs a lot more to make the device, so I feel like it's not a bad compromise. The console has a decent sized 5200 mAh battery built right into it, and since it's designed primarily for streaming and cloud gaming, that battery life can extend up to 8 hours on a full charge, which is pretty solid. It also charges very quickly, but you might have to use the USB-C cable that came with the console to give it a charge. Maybe it's just the review unit I was provided, but none of my other USB-C cables were able to charge it. Now, how good the Wi-Fi is has to be the most important thing on a device designed mainly for cloud gaming and remote play. It uses an upgraded Wi-Fi 5 module. I know it sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it's great for maintaining a stable and uninterrupted connection between the handheld and the router. Of course, that all still depends on the speed of your Wi-Fi connection and how good it is in general. If it's fast enough, that's perfect. If not, you might experience some stutters and latency. The degree or how much stutters and latency will depend on how bad your internet connection is. I'd say maybe don't use remote play or cloud gaming with public internet services that often have a lot of people on it. The device uses Bluetooth 5.1 for connecting to any external device that also supports that, so that goes for wireless earbuds and such. The Abxylute runs on Android OS, so think of it like a smartphone, but one that's been specifically designed and optimized with some features for game streaming. There's a way that you can switch from the default handheld mode on the device to something called a tablet mode, which is an interface that looks more like an Android phone. I personally prefer to keep it in the handheld mode as that's just more user-friendly and everything is more easily accessible. Since it runs on Android OS, that means you can also download mobile games, but it has not been optimized for any of that, so don't expect the best performance in that regard. The console came preloaded with some of the best remote play and cloud gaming apps on the market right now, and I tried out most of them to see how well the console works at what it was built for. I decided to try out remote play apps first to access games that I already own on my PC or my consoles. I do most of my gaming on PC, so I decided to try out Steam Link first. After setting it up and connecting to a PC, you get the big picture mode from SteamOS, which essentially transforms the Abxylute into a more portable Steam Deck. Keep in mind though that you'd want your PC connected through a LAN cable as opposed to Wi-Fi for the most stable connection. I find that I love using the big picture mode since it's just another way to play all the games in my Steam library with a similar interface to the Steam Decks, which I'm already used to. The difference though is that everything looks better on the Abxylute's 1080p display. I was able to play games at higher graphical settings while maintaining a steady 60 frames per second throughout, which honestly is really nice. There's no heating up, fan noises, or battery dying in a short amount of time like I'm used to, since my PC does all the heavy lifting and the Abxylute simply acts as a way to bring it around. Depending on your Wi-Fi strength and setup, you might either get a flawless gaming experience with Steam Link on the Abxylute, or you might have to deal with lags and other similar issues. Moonlight is another software for streaming all your PC games. For this one to work, I had to turn on Game Stream from within my NVIDIA software to allow streaming games installed locally on my PC. During my time with the Abxylute, I found that Moonlight worked so well, even better than Steam Link did, and it's definitely my preferred way to stream all of my PC games. I would definitely suggest trying this out if you have any trouble with Steam Link at all. Next up, I decided to try out some PS5 and Xbox Remote Play. So PlayStation and Xbox Remote Play work great on it as well, but again, you'll want a solid internet connection to use both. Make sure that you've got both consoles hardwired using a LAN cable. I don't use Xbox Remote Play a lot since you can get pretty much the same games through xCloud, which I find to be more reliable and requires a lot less setup. You can access xCloud through the Game Pass app, which can be downloaded from the Play Store if it's not already preloaded on your unit. I only use PS5 for Remote Play, but you can also stream from a PS4 console if that's what you've got. The PlayStation Remote Play app you get on the Abxylute worked well enough to game on with my internet connection, but not without some stutters and some lags here and there. But it might work better for you. It all depends on a lot of different factors that relate to your own internet connection. I use a couple of Wi-Fi 6 routers throughout my house, and I always keep my consoles connected to the internet with a wired Ethernet cable for the most consistent and stable connections. I still found that despite the occasional lags and artifacts that I got with PS5 Remote Play, it still worked pretty well enough for me to be able to play and enjoy gaming on the handheld. Recently, I made a video on PS5 Remote Play on the Steam Deck, and it works fine there, truly, but at the maximum resolution of 1080p, the Steam Deck will have to display that on an 800p display, so it still wouldn't look as good as it could natively when streamed off the Abxylute's 1080p display. For remote play outside of your home network, you'll need to set up port forwarding on your device, or you'll be limited to only playing when you're at home. Honestly, I find that I get the most stable gaming sessions at home anyway, so I mainly use remote play there. There's tons of information out there on how to set up your device for remote play when you're trying to access it away from home. It is not a difficult process, and the PS5 Remote Play app that comes preloaded on the unit makes it even easier for you to set it up with the PS app. The last thing I decided to try out was Xbox Cloud Gaming. Now, this performed very well on the Abxylute. It's easily one of the best ways to use a device in my experience. You don't need to have any other device or games to get this setup going. All you'll need is a solid internet connection to allow you to connect to the cloud for a stable gaming session. Considering the price of the Abxylute, pairing it with a Game Pass subscription has to be one of the most affordable gaming setups you can get right now. It didn't matter what game I streamed, they all performed in pretty much the same way. They looked and they played great on a 1080p 60Hz screen, and with a good enough internet connection speed, you should be able to get close to a perfect and stable gameplay session throughout. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide if remote play or cloud gaming is worth it for you, but it sure seems like it could be the future of gaming. As for the Abxylute, it's definitely what I'd want from a device designed specifically for remote play and cloud gaming. It's super thin, lightweight, and comes equipped with an upgraded Wi-Fi since it's literally dependent on that. Finally, it's the most affordable handheld I've come across so far at $199 US, which definitely undercuts the lowest tier of the Steam Deck. If you want a device whose primary goal is to just allow you to extend your gaming sessions for your PC or consoles from one static spot to just about anywhere, then the Abxylute is a solid option to consider. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on a device like this or remote play and cloud gaming in general. So go ahead and leave those comments down below and let's chat. That's all for this one, and I appreciate it if you made it to this point of the video. You're a real one, and I'll catch you in my next video. It's Tommy, and I'm out, y'all.